All right, so I am recording this class now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. Share screen. Share. Okay. So now I'm sharing my screen with everybody, so that should be recorded as well. As I was just saying, this class is not intended to be a difficult class by any means. We are going to spend the first couple of weeks learning about engineering in general, just trying to get a feel for what engineering is, what engineers do, studying different types of engineering just to give you an overview so that you can make an informed decision about what you might want to go into later. You two already seem fairly well decided, but we still do this. The reason this, at universities, this is done a slightly different way. They do teach this class at the university and they do this introduction. But they also have another class called a seminar where you go and meet with a different engineer every week, essentially. And you talk about engineering and you ask questions about engineering and you might do activities about engineering. And you don't get any credit for that, but you do have to take it. Right? Sometimes it's quite interesting. Sometimes they bring somebody in who's doing something cool in the engineering. Like I went to one of these seminars where an engineer at UNL, or actually I think it was UNO, but anyway, somewhere up in the eastern side of the state, was a former student of the university, and now they were working for a NASCAR racing team, which was a really cool presentation. They talked about how they give advice to the racing team on how to do different things different ways. From an engineering sciencey point of view, rather than just a car guy kind of point of view. Right? And that's actually now common. Pretty much every racing team at a high level of racing for cars of all kinds now have a scientist / engineer on their staff, or multiple ones. Like IndyCar teams have like 3 or 4 that are working full time for their team and helping them to win races. So. And that's true in many other fields as well. It's true in sports. The professional sports teams now have scientists that are working for them. My sports teams are all still back in California. I still haven't been converted to a Husker fan, but I've always been, since I was a kid, I was a Warriors fan, and it was really hard being a Warriors fan when I was a kid because they stunk for so many decades. But they've become pretty good lately, and they actually use a lot of science. They have an entire practice facility that is just teeming with scientific sensors that are tracking the athletes constantly and figuring out what they're doing and what they should be doing. They track how many inches every athlete jumps every day, for example. And once they've reached a certain amount of inches, and it's a different number for each player, no more jumping. They track how many feet they run every day. And once they've reached a certain amount, no more, because they've done the research and they know that your probability of injury goes up after a certain number of steps, after a certain number of inches jumping, after a certain number of activities doing this, that, and the other. They also know what is the optimal heart rate, and they're tracking heart rates. They want to keep this heart rate elevated to into this range for a certain amount of time, this many times a day, and they want it to go down to this range for a certain. They do everything. They track the calories they eat, the types of calories they're eating, everything. Yes.
I'm guessing they do part of it with software and the rest manual, so writing down the amount of jumps and stuff.
Actually, no, it's all done automatically. So the players wear devices that measure their air time, which is calculated into inches. Yeah. So it's actually all done automatically. It's all uploaded to computers, and the scientists are just up there crunching numbers, and in fact, even the decisions are made automatically. Each individual athlete has certain numbers, that guide their training, and those numbers are decided by computers using artificial intelligence. And when they reach those numbers, they reach those goals, or they reach those limits, they're notified automatically. So it's all built into the computer systems. It's all engineered to be automatic. They do have scientists running it all and overseeing it all, but it's very automatic. It's kind of crazy. Their new practice facility was built for this purpose. And it's not the only one of its kind. They're doing it in the NFL. They're doing it at colleges. UNL is starting to do these kinds of things. Most universities with a big Division I football team are doing these kinds of things now. My university is doing these things. They're building this into their everyday everything. So even their study time is monitored. It's kind of like athletes don't study with the normal people, the little people. You know?
Athletes are above us.
Yes, athletes, although academically on average, they're below average, they're actually treated above average, which is kind of funny. Not that all athletes are below average. On average, they are, but not all of them are particularly. For example, I'm a big fan of men's volleyball. BYU has a really good men's volleyball team, and they have a really good record of recruiting people that are like engineering majors. So they'll have 3 or 4 engineers on their team at a time, and they like get all these accolades because they're scoring super high on exams and getting great grades and all this stuff, making the whole team look really great. It's just kind of funny. Volleyball players in general tend to be better students, but I've even had
Why do you think that? Volleyball is picking it.
well, I don't know if that is true in some ways, but I think that basketball really made its popularity in the inner cities, and the inner cities generally have terrible schools, and so the students usually come out of there terribly prepared for academics, regardless of race or background or anything else. The schools just suck, and it's not universally true. I had a friend, Ernie McMillan. He was a black kid, lived in inner city San Francisco, but he went to a Catholic school instead of a public school. And his parents were wealthy enough to do that. And so he actually had a very good academic background, and he played really, really well at basketball. In fact, we went to the Philippines together, and everybody thought he was Michael Jordan just because he was black and shaved his head.
That happens a lot.
It does. They can't really distinguish, but it's kind of fun. Yeah, he definitely did. He was playing against all the public schools and playing against some of the best players in the inner cities, but he was getting a great education. So that does happen, but it's rare. It's good that some athletes are trying to make that happen with their wealth. They put money back into the schools in their communities. But anyway, the point is that it definitely is a thing. Volleyball and basketball were invented by the same guy in the same place. They were invented by the founder of YMCA back in New Jersey in the late 1800s. He invented volleyball first, and then he said, you know what, not everybody can jump and play volleyball because not everybody's tall and athletic. So I'm going to invent basketball for people who can't jump and aren't athletic. It turns out that most people now think that basketball is a super athletic sport and not volleyball, because it kind of became this, instead of just dribbling and shooting, it became a dunking and a blocking thing. So it turns out that both sports turn out to be quite athletic, especially on the men's side. Men's volleyball players can actually jump a bit higher than women's on average, quite a bit higher, in fact. So men's volleyball players can generally jump about 11'6". They can touch usually around 11'6" or so. Men's basketball players can usually jump to about 10'6", 11 feet on average. You have to be able to reach about 10'6" to dunk a basketball, but to be able to hit a volleyball over a block, you have to be able to touch that ball at 11'6", because the block is at 10'6". So sometimes 11.
Cool.
Yeah, we're talking about sports right now, technology and sports, in case you want to. So who is on with us here?
Meeting Thomas.
Just signed on. Want to introduce yourself there on Zoom?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, go ahead. You're the only one on Zoom so far, so.
Okay. I'm Hunter Hansen. I go to MCC obviously, and I'm playing golf here.
All right, we have a golf player.
Yes.
There's another sport that uses technology quite a bit. So they use a lot of computer tracking and simulation to analyze golf swings, but that's not all. Many other things too. Golf is not just walking on grass. So excellent. I'm a terrible golfer. What's that?
Driving on grass.
Yeah, sometimes you're driving, yeah. Not if you're a pro though, you have to walk. But I'm a terrible golfer. My friend is a good golfer, and his dad is actually almost professional level. He could have played professionally, but he took me golfing once when I was in high school. Only time I actually went golfing, not just driving balls or something. And I shot. We did 9 holes. I shot double par. I lost 2 balls on the runways of a derelict airport next door, and I broke 3 balls in sand traps because it turns out a sand wedge is sharp enough to break the jacket of a golf ball. I didn't know that until I did it 3 times, twice in a row with 1 ball. And then I shanked 1 ball completely over the top. I like sliced it completely over the top of these like 200-foot tall redwoods between 2 fairways and landed on the wrong fairway. I'm terrible at golf. And my friend got mad at me for not replacing my divots properly also. So anyway, but I do appreciate golf. I appreciate the skill that goes into it. I enjoy watching it. So anyway, we've just been kind of talking and waiting for people to show up on Zoom. We've apparently had some disconnect with a couple of our other students. Only 3 of us here now. There's 2 in North Platte, 1 on Zoom from McCook. We're expecting 2 more, but we are recording this so that we can share our first meeting with others. We are in Engineering 1100, Engineering Communications, and we use this class here to introduce students to engineering and also to give them an experience to do some engineering projects and some other things. And this is a class that they started teaching this at UNL maybe 3 or 4 years ago. They don't teach it in every division of the engineering department. It's just some divisions do, some divisions don't. Generally, electrical engineering doesn't because they have so many credits they have to take to graduate. And so we have a couple of electrical engineers doing this class, but it's still a very good class, I think, for all students. I've had probably about half of my students have been electrical engineers, or maybe a third, and they've all done well as they've gone on to UNO or other places and enjoyed this class because of the experience it gave them that was very practical. This class, I'm not going to really go through the syllabus much. It is here available for you. I believe that I even have the latest version of it up here. Oh, it turns out I don't, but I will get it up. But it's pretty much the same as every other version. It's got all the stuff that you need to know about. But this class is a little bit different than most classes that you will take. For the first half to 2/3 of the class, we will be doing work in the classroom. We'll work from a textbook a little bit. We'll do some presentations. We'll do some papers. We'll do some projects. But about halfway to 2/3 of the way through the class, you're going to apply to work in the community somewhere. And then you're going to go and do it. Yeah. So what you'll be doing is looking for an opportunity to work for a nonprofit or a community organization and it doesn't matter if it's related to anything in particular. And I have lots of ideas that I can give to you, point you in the right direction. But the idea here is to help students to understand how to go out and work with people in the community, because engineers have to do that regularly. It's not always the thing that we want to do, but it's something that has to be done. You have to go and work with businesses. You have to go and work with politicians. You have to go and work with technicians. You often have to go and work with just regular people in the community. Let's say that you've been contracted to build a new tennis court in a town or something like this, and you're laying all of the concrete, and people want to know what you're doing. They want to know how you're doing, and you have to meet with the local tennis association, none of whom know anything about concrete, and yet you have to explain it to them in a way that makes sense to them and satisfies their curiosity and their requirements for what they're doing. So in fact, that's something that I've been doing recently. So anyway, on the tennis player side, not on the engineering side. But anyway, So that's what this class is designed to do. It's designed to give you as many experiences as possible to help you to become a well-rounded engineer who's good at communicating, good at working in teams, good at understanding how engineering fits into the social, political, economic structure of our world, which is quite important, and then giving you the tools that you need to move on into your engineering career. Not intended to be a difficult course. It won't be difficult. We won't have assignments that are technically challenging. It's mostly just doing things that are important to learn how to do, right? This will satisfy your speech requirement for graduating from the college. It will also satisfy your speech requirement at UNL or UNO. So yes, so that does transfer. We've worked out all those details. So yeah, we do not have a textbook required. We will be using a textbook. So if you want to get it, you can, but we will not require you to get it. I will use some of the imagery from the textbook and some of the ideas from the textbook because it's quite a good one. What is that? It's a good question. I don't remember.
I looked up
I have it right here. I've been using it as a elevation here. It's called The Engineering Design Process by Youssef Haik. That's the name of the book, and I will get you that information more explicitly if you want it. I mean, I use this textbook to kind of explain some things. Nothing that's very difficult to explain, so it's not hard to really to grasp it. Mostly, it's about ideas of organizing a team, ideas of organizing time and activities and tasks and things like this. It's stuff that really just makes sense the first time you hear it, and you're good to go from there on out pretty much. But it shouldn't be too much of a challenge. We will also use many other things online and many other resources to teach this class. And then we will do a lot of project work and a lot of just working on things that are not in any kind of book. So we will be using an online learning system to just turn things in and stuff like that. We'll be using MyOpenMath. So if you've any of my other classes, you're familiar with that. You go to myopenmath.com and you open up. You either click register as a new student or you open up your account. And then you use these numbers to get into the class. So if you have a computer with you, you can log on right now and do that. And then I'll show you what we're going to be starting with this week. So you go to myopenmath.com and your course ID that you're going to use is 15663. And the enrollment key is engineer or ENGR, all capital letters, 1100.
so bad. We need to register with our school account or with our personal email.
No, so you get on when you're getting onto MyOpenMath, you set up whatever account you want to use whatever is going to be best for you. You don't have to use anything from the school if you don't want to. It's up to you.
So I was wondering, what would you first refer to as professor?
Call me Jared. I'm not big into titles, so we're certainly not professors at this school. Yeah, just call me Jared. Yeah, none of us are professors at this school. A professor is a rank that you have to earn at a university, and it usually takes 10 to 15 years to earn that rank often. So, oh yeah, it's a rank that is determined by other professors who have already earned that rank, and you earn it by publishing articles of your research and showing that you're an expert in the field. And once you've proven to your fellow professors that you are you're really an expert in that field, then they will grant you the rank of
Is
professor.
that a title that you're given, or?
It's a title that you earn.
You
Yeah.
earn, but
That you
at
earn.
the same time, do you need a certificate to be called to become a professor, or?
Well, you're given when you are called a professor, it's because you have been given both the job that is actually called professor at the university, and then they elevate you to the rank of either associate or full professor. There are different levels of professors. So when you're hired as a professor, the first time usually you're called an assistant professor, and that's not considered a full professor. And then an associate professor is kind of, you're on your way and you have most of it done. And then full professor means you are the big guy. You've reached. And then there's one more level, which is called emeritus professor, which is usually given to professors of great renown who are retiring. You know, when they've retired, if you've retired and you did a really incredible thing with your career, then you're granted emeritus professor. So, but the reason that I mention that is because universities are rather touchy about that. They don't want people just throwing around that word because, you know, they spend a lot of time and money in their life attaining that honor, I guess. But I find it kind of goofy, but it's whatever, whatever.
So you're skipping professor going on to your class, right?
No, professor is something that you earn after you've earned a doctorate. So it's a professorship is something that you're given because you apply for it and you win that job, and then you earn the higher levels of professorship. But you can't become a professor without earning your PhD first. It's very rare for that to
That's
happen.
why it takes a couple of years.
Yeah. So, and then that's 10 years after you've been hired. You know, that's not including your PhD years. So yeah, it can take, I mean, at some schools it takes 15, 17. I knew a guy that didn't earn full professorship after 17 years and quit because he was just sick and tired of it. So yeah, it's just, it happens. It happens. Yeah, being a professor is a whole new level of academic achievement beyond school. So anyway, so once you get into this class, it will look something like this. More like this, actually. So you have the Zoom link for the class. The first thing at the top of the class, we have class videos that I've taken at various times. I will be taking videos during this semester because I have at least one student who wants to do this, I think, completely online, possibly. So if you ever miss a class or whatever, you want to go back and review something, you can. Not likely you'll need to, but it's not a difficult class, but it's there. Then we have the course syllabus here that where you can look up kind of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then the UNL syllabus is how they do their class. And it's not necessarily, neither of these are necessarily really easy to understand the class from the syllabus, but you'll get the idea. I included the UNL syllabus because we've modeled this class directly after their class as much as we can. How we're going to go about this class is we're going to start off with an introduction to engineering, and then we're going to go into the engineering design process. The introduction to engineering will take about 2 weeks, and the engineering design process will take about 5 or 6 weeks. And will include a pretty major project. After we're done with that, then we will move on to community service project portion of the class. So essentially three portions of the class. We will have an exam after the engineering design, or kind of in the middle of the engineering design process thing, but we'll have a presentation at the end of the introduction to engineering, and we'll have presentations at the end of the engineering design process before the community service, and we'll have presentation at the end of the community service section of the class. Presentations and exams will be counted equally. So just so you know, an exam and a presentation are pretty much the same thing in this class. There will be, there's a final paper here, but I'm not sure if I'll actually require it. We might remove that. But in each of these sections, there are different things to do, different activities, assignments, whatever you want to call them. And we'll get to them, and we'll explain them as we go through it. Like I said, it's not intended to be a technical class. So most of this stuff is, you could call it busy work, I guess, but it does have a real purpose. The things that we're learning are quite important for engineers. We were talking before you got on, Hunter, about why men are more common in the engineering field than women. And it's been shown through psychology, study of psychology, that men are very much attracted to technical fields, that they like to work with things more than they like to work with people. And that tends to be a very engineering kind of thing. But the problem is that engineers do need to be able to work with people. And so this is one of the main reasons we teach this class, is so that we can get that experience of working with people, communicating with people, and all of that. And that's one of the big things that we're going to emphasize in each of the sections of this course. One of the reasons we have so many presentations. So anyway, this is actually the first time in a while that I've had this class be all men. I think we're going to have all men in this class. I've actually had usually at least one woman in the class. Last time I taught this class, I had like 3. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, actually it was 2 times ago I taught this class that I had 3. All right, so does anybody have any questions about basically the basic kind of format of the class, how it's going to go, everything like that? No. Okay.
Could you give us more information about the community service project?
Yeah, so the community service project will be an experience where you're going to go out and look for an option, or look for a different opportunities. You can either look on your own, or you can take one of my options that I give you and go and look for that. And it can be anywhere, anything from, volunteering at a local school to working for a local museum, working on a project in the community that's going on. Last year we had a playground that was being built by the community, and that was an option, a possible option. Or was it 2 years ago? I had a student in McCook last year that was doing something with, I don't remember what they were doing now, but they'd found something that was, a project in the community they could go work on. It's not something that you're not looking for a job to get paid in. This is not something that's a paid position, looking for a volunteer position. Yeah. No, it needs to be a volunteer position. It needs to be off campus.
Rotary,
Yeah, the Rotary Club is a valid option. Going and doing something for them would be a valid option. So yeah, the basic idea is to try to put yourself out there and learn to be in a social environment, social work environment, where you have to communicate with others and, take instructions, give instructions, follow protocols, whatever, and do something in the community to use the communication skills that we're trying to engender in this class.
Are you going to grade us based on our testimony, or?
So the person that you work with will give some feedback on how you do, and my grade will be based mostly on that. But there are also certain things that you will do that you will be graded on. You'll use a logbook every day and log what you've done. And so completion of that logbook and completeness of that logbook will be part of the grade, actually a big part of it. And then you'll give a presentation, and that will also be part of it as well. So.
Okay.
Could
Yes, sir.
we potentially do that volunteer activity before we actually start talking about it in class, or like start doing it? We plan on doing it consistently throughout the semester or something like that?
So the best thing to do is to do it while we're doing it during the class, because there are certain assignments that will go along with it. If you have a really good one that you'd like to work with, we can work around that and have you do it. It would just mean more work for you, because you would have to do those assignments early as well. So it's a good question. I've never had anybody ask it before, but I've had people that are already working for an organization, but they just continue working for that part. So if you're working with, Habitat for Humanity right now, and you plan on working the whole semester for them, you can use that later on as your thing. You will still have to go through the application process, because that's part of what we teach, is You'll have to put together a resume and you'll have to go through an interview with whoever your supervisor will be. Even though you're already working with them, you'll still have to do that. But yes, we can work around that time-wise if you're only doing it for the first half of the semester. Any other questions at all? Okay, if there are no more questions, we're going to go ahead and start with the first assignment. We're going to go up here into our introduction to engineering. And the first assignment, which is due tomorrow, is you're going to, this assignment here is you're going to make a list of 20 different engineering fields and give a short description of each of them. It's not a difficult assignment. It should take, 30 minutes or less, or maybe a little more if you want to get really excited about it. You'll enter in everything in your assignment here. You can just write it directly into this assignment. And no, it's not, go ahead. So this assignment will be turned in tomorrow by 11 p.m. and we will discuss it on Wednesday. And there is another assignment coming after that that will be tied into this. So on Wednesday, we'll also discuss the next assignment, which will be actually a presentation. And we'll be on our way. All good to go? What's that?
We're gonna have a good time.
I think so. This class has always been a fun class for students and myself because it's kind of laid back and we just do what we want to do to learn about engineering. So another thing that I've forgotten to mention in all of my classes is that I am also the STEM club advisor, Science, Technology, Engineering, Math club advisor. And I do recommend that you join a club, not necessarily this club, but this one is a good one if you're interested in science. What we do in this club is we try to promote science and science learning in the community. That's kind of the basic idea behind our club. And so we do usually a few science shows a year for elementary schools or Boy Scouts or something like that. We get several requests each year. We also sometimes do them for tour groups that come through, bus tours. And when we do it for a tour group, it counts as a fundraiser for us because we usually get paid about $500 to do that. So it's kind of fun. We'll go out and we've done electricity shows, we've done matter shows, we've done temperature shows based on different types of science. The ones that we've been doing a lot of lately is astronomy because we got some really nice telescopes recently. So we've done a lot of stargazing recently, but we will do all kinds of different science shows for people in the community. And then the other thing that we try to do is we try to go on a trip each year with the students to do something sciencey. And there's a great science, I think it's in DC this year. There's a great science kind of symposium going on in Washington, DC this year that we are requesting money for from the college so that we can go to the science conference and listen to some scientists talk about science and participate in some science conversations. And then we'll go around to a bunch of science museums in Washington, DC, which there are a lot of. It's a great place. We'll go visit probably both Air and Space Museums, Natural Science Museum, and other things like that. So lots of cool things to do in DC for students. If you've never been to DC, it's definitely worth it. So, and that would be essentially on the college's dime, which is nice because you get to travel and see some cool science and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. So,
How might we go about joining that program?
So if you want to join, they're going to have a club day thing sometime this week or next. I don't remember when it is. And we will have a booth at that so that you can sign up there, but you can also just send me an email and say, I want to be in that club. And then when we organize our first meeting, I'll send you an email and we'll do it. I'll be talking about it in class the rest of the week as well. So, but we've done a lot of fun things we've been to Washington DC a couple of times. We've also been to UNL and UNO a couple of times. We've done some tours of nuclear power plants, hydroelectric plants. We haven't done the coal plant here. No, we did. We did do the Gerald Gentleman Station coal plant, but they weren't operating. So we were just there to see how they control the water because the Gerald Gentleman Station, they control all of the water movement in Western Nebraska. So all of the canals, all of the reservoirs, all the sluice gates and everything are controlled from there, which was really cool. It was actually really cool to see how they do But we've done a lot of different tours and places and gone different places. And we hope this year to go to DC. So, okay. Any other questions before we're done?
Oh, how would you this club works?
Just send me an email and say you want to join the club. And that's good enough. So, to be a member of our club, you have to attend at least one meeting per semester or something like this, one activity. We put the bar really low for our club because we usually only get a few people anyway. But you just have to attend a meeting. Our first meeting is usually the one most people attend. We appoint somebody to be president of the club and we're good to go. We don't even have any other officers. We're just like, we have somebody we call president and then we just go and do science fun stuff. We try to make it simple. I'm not big into all in favor, say aye and all that dumb stuff that comes with clubs. but I am in favor of having a good time with science. So we've done a lot of cool science shows, had a lot of fun. We love to do our temperature show where we bring the dry ice and the liquid nitrogen out and make dry ice bubbles and freeze things with nitrogen and let kids eat, frozen potato chips or something like that. Frozen popcorn's fun. We even make Dippin' Dots often. We've done that here at the college. We've made Dippin' Dots. You ever seen Dippin'? They're like little pieces of ice cream that you can, that are frozen in liquid nitrogen. Yeah, we could actually sell them. We've never sold them before, but we could. Yeah, frozen peaches, frozen bananas. We've done it all. Yeah, so we like to do fun stuff like that. And you can even join it from McCook. It's a little harder to participate from McCook, but you can join it and be in our meetings, and then you can travel with us if you'd like to, because we've probably had a half a dozen students from McCook go with us to different places that we've traveled
I'd
to.
like to be as involved in anything that has to do with engineering as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's what I learned.
How often do you guys travel like to smaller things than DC? Because obviously DC would be like a big trip. But like,
Yeah, so usually we'll try to travel at least once a year to a local thing, like a power plant or something like that. And so usually we'll do that at least once in the year. We've often done 2 or 3 times. We've gone to the nuclear medicine facility at the hospital for the second semester of physics, for example, and anybody in the STEM club is invited to come to that. And that's a really fun tour. Actually, they take us and show us nuclear medicine and MRI and all this cool stuff. We get the back scenes tour with the actual scientists. But we've also, let's see, Department of Roads, we've done a tour at the farm here across the way. There's some really cool stuff there. In fact, there will be a tour there in October that you'll be invited to. So, anyway. And all the local tours we open up to anybody. They don't have to be members. We've even done breweries. So, and winery. So, yep, we've done lots of different things. All right, any final questions? We good? Okay, Hunter, you have any questions before we're done?
Nope.
All right, well, welcome to engineering. We will see you all on Wednesday. Don't forget your first assignment due tomorrow night, and have a good one.
So 11 p.m., right? The assignment
I'm sorry?
is due tomorrow at 11 p.m.
Yes, and you turn it in on my open. See you.
Other thing I'm not taking